And there was a rally inside Seattle City Hall on Wednesday. Dozens of tenants were sitting there on the floor inside City Hall, cheering the mayor over her proposal.
Seattle is now a majority renter city, and this legislation is about transparency and it's about affordability.
So let me be clear to those bad landlords, you exploit our renters, we'll see you in court. And you're gonna be the one to pay, because that is what real accountability looks like.
I promise you, ma'am, there is not a landlord in America. There is not a housing provider, a builder, and developer in America who still believes that they can come to Seattle and pad their pockets and get rich. That maybe at one point they thought that, not anymore. They can't even make money off their rental units. They can't even make money off their buildings.
Seattle's mayor wants to ban landlord junk fees, pet rent, mail fees, appliance charges, all of it. Sounds great on paper.
They're claiming some rental fees are a big part of the problem, sometimes amounting to hundreds of dollars per month.
People who are in situations just like mine are struggling day to day, and they're working 2-3 jobs just to keep a roof over their head.
But we're going to break down why this fixes the symptom and ignores the disease. Let's get into it.
Seattle is now a majority renter city, and this legislation is about transparency and it's about affordability. It's about creating a level playing field that rewards responsible landlords, and it's about creating housing stability for renters and stability for our neighborhoods and our communities.
Here's Seattle City Attorney Erica Evans.
Banning junk fees is common sense. It sends a clear message to bad landlords that if you decide to come to Seattle to pad your pockets, to nickel and dime renters here in our city, we're going to hold you accountable.
So let's give credit where it's due. Nobody's arguing that hidden fees aren't a real problem. They are. Nationally, companies have gotten sued over this. Greystar, the largest apartment operator in the country, had to pay $24 million to settle claims that their advertised rents were misleading. So this is not a manufactured crisis. This is documented. But here's where we have a problem here. Katie Wilson frames this entire thing as a transparency and affordability play. But a transparency and affordability are not the same lever. You can't force a landlord to disclose every fee in bold print on page 1, and the total dollar amount a renter pays at the end of the month doesn't move an inch. It just gets relabeled. That's not affordability, that's paperwork. And when you trace this back to 2021, organizing effort born out of the COVID rent spikes, you start to see this isn't really about fixing a mechanism. It's about being seen doing something. Government loves a visible fix. This is a visible fix. Whether it's an effective one is a completely different question, and that's the one nobody on that stage is actually answering. But a quick reminder, if you like this type of content, hit subscribe as we're about to get to 200,000 subscribers. Appreciate all your support. Now let's get back into it.
And this would, again, require rental listings to clearly delineate mandatory fees that, tenants have to pay, such as late fees and Wi-Fi and that sort of a thing, and not allow them to implement others. So what is exactly a junk fee? Well, it's kind of still up for debate, and the proposal is not yet finalized. Now, over the last several years, Seattle has instituted a series of policies aimed at protecting tenants, but a lot of these things have also irked landlords, many of whom just simply wash their hands and said, I'm out. You're making it too difficult to even make a living and be profitable as a landlord in the city.
Now, this is the part of the clip that does all of my work for me. Even the reporter covering this straight up says it. Landlords aren't going to just eat these costs. Running a building isn't free. Insurance goes up every year. Water, sewage, garbage, staff, repairs. None of that will disappear because City Hall passed an ordinance banning a line item. So walk through what actually happens. Right now, your lease says rent plus a pet fee plus a mail fee. Ban the fees, and that money doesn't just vanish into thin air for the landlord. It gets folded straight into the base rent number. You're paying the exact same total, but you just lost the itemization that used to at least tell you what you're being charged for and why. In some ways, you've lost information, not gained it. It's getting buried under the transparency framing. This is economics 101. You cannot legislate away a cost. You can only decide who's allowed to see it and how is it going to be labeled on the page. New department deliveries in Seattle are sharply down this year. That's the actual crisis. not whether your pet deposit is itemized on page 3 of a lease, whether there's a unit for you to rent at all 5 years from now. And look what's actually happening without any fee ban at all. Vacancy is loosening up. Rent growth has basically flatlined this year. Why? Because more supply came online and landlords had to compete for tenants instead of the other way around. That's what the market is doing for free, exactly what this ordinance is trying to force by law. When the supply loosens, landlords start competing on the total package, rent, terms, fees, everything, because the tenant down the street has options now. You don't need City Hall to mandate that outcome. You need City Hall to stop being the reason it takes years and mountains of paperwork and permits to build a new unit in the city in the first place.
Wallet Hub compared more than 180 rental markets in large metro areas across the country, considering 21 different key measures for rental attractiveness.
Seattle, 84th out of 182.
So here's what Chip Lupo at Wallet Hub had to say about the top placers in their list.
Well, the big winner is the state of Arizona. Three cities, Scottsdale, Gilbert, and Chandler, all part of the Phoenix Metroplex, top 3.
So check out these numbers for a second. Seattle's renters are handing over 30+% of their income to rent. Scottsdale renters are about 22%, and they're getting almost 2,200 square feet for it, nearly double the space. That gap isn't a junk-free gap. Nobody's overpaying by 8 percentage points of their income because of a pet fee. That gap is a supply problem. Arizona metros build. Phoenix area cities have been approving and constructing housing at a pace that Seattle hasn't touched in years. That's why the rent-to-income ratios look completely different there. Meanwhile, Seattle is 84th out of 182 cities ranked for renters. Middle of the pack, dragged down mostly entirely by affordability, not quality of life. If Katie Wilson wants Seattle to climb out of this list, itemizing mail fees isn't going to move the needle. Building the housing that gets Seattle affordability score closer to Scottsdale's, but that fight means going against zoning boards and homeowner associations instead of landlords. And that's probably a harder political fight than just banning a fee nobody's going to defend publicly anyway.
Yet for landlords like Gordon Haggerty, who owns 6 units in Eastlake.
But do you think this is going to have more of a ripple effect on all landlords in the city?
Well, I think the issue of transparency and being upfront about the total move-in and rental costs and what the fee structures are is very important.
He says the city hasn't been clear on how this will work, which he believes could cause more harm than good.
Another reason to discourage housing providers, especially small housing providers like myself, to stop doing business in Seattle.
Here's the part progressives don't want to hear. Incentives matter, and this ordinance creates a bad one. If a landlord can't charge a pet fee to cover the real cost of pet damage, the rational move isn't just to eat the cost quietly and just stop allowing pets. That's not a landlord being petty. That's just risk management. You've made the fee illegal, so the actual risk it exists to cover doesn't disappear. It just gets managed a different way, and pet owners lose out entirely instead of paying a fair, disclosed cost. And the bad actors framing is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. Sure, go after the Greystars of the world who are documented misleading renters at scale. But sweeping bans don't just hit bad actors. They hit the small landlords with 6 units in Eastlake the same way as a national renting company. One of those has lawyers and lobbyists to absorb new compliance costs. The other one might just sell and leave the rental market entirely. That's fewer units, not more transparency. And it's the exact opposite of what a housing affordability mayor should want. We're not here to tell you that all landlords are angels. Some of them absolutely deserve some heat, and obviously the lawsuits are there to prove it. But if the actual goal is cheaper, more affordable housing, the fastest way to get there isn't just more regulation. It's letting people build. More supply is the one lever that actually forces the fee problem to solve itself, because landlords have to compete for you instead of the other way around. Government transparency rules are fine as far as they go, but they don't build a single new unit. And the real number driving Seattle's housing crisis isn't the fee total, it's how few new apartments are actually being built. But let me know what you guys think about this in the story in the comments below. Do you agree with what Katie Wilson's doing, or you think she's making a mistake? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.